so we are on to requirements 2 of this question, which is preparing the updated cash book. So we completed the first one. Now we're going to do the updated cash book. So let's see what that looks like. Again, you make sure you type out your heading. See Burke. This is our updated cash book. This is a T account, so you need to make sure that you set it up as such. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 rows. Just let me make this a little bigger so I can make my adjustments better. I want this. Just going to merge and center these. All right. And go. So let me put in the date, details, amount. Remember, we are working information for the month of October. Well, you can put amount or dollar sign. It doesn't really matter. I'm putting both so you know that you can do either or, whichever one is easier. So let's just make these columns a little bigger. The detail column, that is. Right, and we bring back up the question. Let's look at what we have. Now, as a reminder, the information that we have gathered from our bank statement, those transactions that we circled, will be used to update our cash book. So just remember that when you're doing an updated cash book, the transactions you identified on your bank statement that were not included in the cash book for the month you are working on has to be included in the updated cash book. All right. So let's go through these and see what we get. So we can ignore the ones we used in the opening reconciliation. We will not be using those again, so just ignore those. And let's start with the information in our debit column, then we will move over to the stuff on our credit column. Now, if I haven't said it before, I'll say it here again. The bank does things backwards to how a business reports their information. So whereas when we, a business, receive income, we will report it on the debit side of our asset account. And if we are spending, we will report the money going out on the credit side. The bank does the opposite. They report income coming in on the credit side and money going out on the debit. All right, so it's the reverse when it comes to reviewing information from a bank statement. So anything in our debit column has to be reported on the credit side of our cash book over here, and anything on our credit column of the bank statement, has to be reported on the debit side of our cash book. So this is right, October, as this is the updated cash book. This is updated from October 31st, month end. So we will be using the balance from the cash book, not the beginning balance in this case. We will be using the ending balance, right? So just type it here quickly. October 31st. And you don't have to enter the specific dates for the questions that you're pulling from, for the transactions, that you're pulling from your bank statement. You can just write the date once and but make sure you enter your details going forward. So let's review the balance. Our balance carried down in our cash book is on the credit side. So when we enter the information, when we start to enter the information in our cash book, it would be the balance brought down and it would be on the opposite side. So remember that wherever this balance carried down is on your cash book, wherever that is reflected, when you go to do your updated cash book, you call it the balance brought down and you put it on the opposite side. So our balance brought down will go on the debit side of our cash book. balance brought down, not carried down, right? And that is 4350. Now we can go to our bank statement and start entering everything on our debit side. So we have the standing order for 1000, standing order. And then we have that debit transfer, which is 825. We have bank charges for 210. So is that everything on the debit side over here? Yes, it is. So now let's go and enter what we have on our credit side of the bank statement on our debit side of the cash book. So we have circled the credit transfer for 4000. Let's enter that. And the dividend for 1040. Now remember, we still have notes. So whenever we're doing whichever report, you always tap back to your notes to see if there's any information in there that has to be included in the current report you are preparing. Okay, so let's just go back to our notes quickly and see what we have here again. So note 1 says the payment towards the vehicle loan check 454 was correctly recorded in the bank statement. So we know it's correct up here, this 7100, but it is 1700 here. Now you may say, okay, it's supposed to be 7100, so as we update the cash, but I'll just put 7100. No, we don't do that. When you're updating your cash book, you update it to reflect the difference. If that difference is a debit or credit difference over understatement, you put the difference on the correct side of the cash book. In this case, the expense was supposed to be 7100, but it was 1700. So in our cash book, the expense is understated. It's less than what it should be. So we have to update our cash book for that difference. So more money needs to go out. So we would have to credit the cash book for the difference. All right. So we would put the vehicle loan adjustment, vehicle loan, right? You would put your calculation to show how you got out the amount for the adjustment. For me, I'll just use my formula in Excel to work out. So we have 5400. So that first error is dealt with, right? And then let's see, is there anything else? It says the payment to S. Durant, check 455, was incorrectly treated as a receipt in the cash book. Okay, so here we have a check, okay, that was entered in our cash book right over here as a deposit. So two things need to happen here. One, we need to reverse this entry because it was not supposed to be a deposit. So understand that once we reverse the entry by crediting the cash book for 960, it zeroes that transaction out, so it no longer exists. All right. And because of that, we still have a check that was paid. So therefore, that check was never recorded. So we have to now go and record the check on the credit side of the cash book. So since we have to record this twice, we just double up the amount. The first 960 would be to correct the entry, reverse it, and the second one would be to record the entry as it should be. Okay, so that is why it would be 960 times 2 on the credit side, right? So let's do that. S. Durant's check. So put adjustment again. S. Durant. You can put your working, as I said, just as I'm doing it here, 960 times 2. right? So that is 1920, and that covers the correction and also recording the check the way it was supposed to. Now, there's one other thing that you should pay attention to. This check did occur in the current month of October, right? So, if this was recorded in the cash book for October, right, it will affect our reconciliation, our month end bank reconciliation. And when we move on to that part, you'll see what I mean. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So I think we have everything. We recorded everything from the bank statement that was circled, and we dealt with the corrections. So let's tally up and see what we have. You would use your calculators here. I'm going to just highlight to see the amounts I have on both sides. So I have 9355 on my credit side and 9390 on my debit side. So my credit side seems to be lighter. So my balance carried down is over here. So just let me put my total on this line equals, I'm summing everything here. Okay. So my balance carried down would be everything on my credit side totaled, and that will be deducted from the total on my debit side. So that is 9390 minus the sum of this. That gives me 35. That's my balance carried down. If I sum this, I should come back to the 9390. Perfect. Just let me put in my double lines to show that this is complete. And we are good to go. All right. So when we move on to the next question, we will see if our updated cash book is correct, because if it is, everything would work out flawlessly. And if it is incorrect, we'd have to revisit our updated cash book to see